Good afternoon to you all. I hope that you're feeling blessed and highly favored on today. The topic of discussion will be stop accepting piss as lemonade. Now, I was having a recent discussion with someone like always, typically when I get a message, it stems from a conversation that I've had recently. But the person, they made a very wise statement, and they said that typically high IQ or high intelligence rather, can be typically defined as one's ability to justify wrongdoing. And I thought about that, and I'm man, that's of course it has various definitions and meanings, but I thought about it and I said, well, dang, you on to something there. I thought about various individuals, especially in today's times. Oftentimes when you think of high intelligence people, from an overall standpoint, typically they'll say that the IQ of the homosexual is higher than that of the average or the simple man. They'll use terms, if you're traditional in your ways of thinking or your beliefs, simple, things to that effect. Or they'll tell you that the woman's intelligence or IQ is typically higher than that of the man. Take Skip Bayless for an example. Now, Skip Bayless, to me, I've always admired him, so to speak, or I've admired his ability, rather, to take a topic or unpopular opinion and really debate this for 30 minutes, an hour, in an attempt to make it make sense. I've heard him say some of the most ridiculous takes, but he oftentimes goes in and he does his research, and he'll take one part, or all he needs is really one thing, and he'll make this make sense. He'll harp back onto it, whether he's explaining Baker Mayfield being an excellent quarterback, or whether he's saying that LeBron James is an underachiever and a bum. He can just take any topic, take the unpopular opinion. Oftentimes these debates should be, in fact, so one-sided that it's ridiculous. Like, how can you argue that, LeBron is a great player, or that, just certain things? And these are just a few topics, but if you watch Skip Bayless, you know that he has a knack for taking statements or taking things that typically would make no sense and really rationalizing it and justify it to where he almost has a point there. I look at this and transitioning over to the homosexual community, I'm hearing more and more nowadays men exploring sexual freedom, or liberty, as I believe they like to put it. I'm hearing justification for young men getting played with in their anal areas and this, that, and the third, and I'm hearing things like, oh, that doesn't make you a homosexual. That's where the male G-spot is. So, in order for you to really achieve, the highest level of an orgasm, it's only right that you play with this area, or you're never going to achieve that. This is a primary example of what I would consider someone handing you piss and calling it lemonade. Now, this is why it's so very important to have a mind of your own, because if you don't stand for something, then you'll fall for anything, like the old adage speaks of. I'm hearing more and more, especially in today's times, to where traditional thinking, traditional views are being cast aside. It's my belief that popular culture has simply just embraced the spirit of the Antichrist in totality. And so, in other words, you're going to hear more and more wrong being called right. You're going to hear more and more ideas pushed or placed upon you that absolutely make no sense. And to someone who has already been indoctrinated with certain ideas, typically an older crowd, it's much harder to sway the opinion of an older person who's 30, 40 years old, who's already lived their life, who has already embraced a certain set of ideals and beliefs. However, for the younger crowd, for the younger generation, you're growing up in an era to where this is all that you know. So it's extremely easy for these ideas to be placed upon you and to be embraced as correct. I heard and this goes across the board. I could give numerous or countless examples rather. I just heard a gentleman at New Birth, a church in Atlanta, and quite frankly, I thought New Birth had kind of died out because they had a strong movement here in Charlotte back in my high school days. But it kind of died out with, I thought it died out with their bishop, Eddie Long, who, if you're familiar with his story, he was doing some things that he wasn't supposed to be doing with young men in the church, just an abomination. But the pastor that has taken over for New Birth, he was justifying abortion. He was basically saying that, he stands with the women of the congregation and that they have every right to make decisions concerning their bodies. Instead of telling them what the word says concerning this, instead of telling them to be more responsible or even to refrain from sex until marriage, as the Lord has instructed you to do, he was making justification and telling the people something that sounded good, and to anyone with itching ears, obviously this doctrine will be embraced. But I come here to tell you on today that no matter who the person is, when you know something to be right, when you have your own set of convictions, when you have your own set of morals, never let anyone hand you piss and call it lemonade. The last examples I'll give, of course, will be related to the women in your life. Oftentimes, women are good for this because, as I mentioned earlier, in that high IQ standpoint, oftentimes women are, in fact, more intelligent and more smarter than men. And what do we define intelligence as? The ability to justify wrongdoing. And so, if you don't have your own set of morals, if you don't have this game, rather, if you're not able to identify when someone is handing you piss and trying to make you drink it and, hey, how does that lemonade taste? Then you're never going to be able to identify certain things. I see oftentimes men getting duped, getting told one thing, getting manipulated to no end. If she can't manipulate you, they'll oftentimes bring in a third party to agree with them, or they'll word it or phrase it in a way to where it sounds correct. They may bring in a pastor, they may bring in a mediator, or someone who has these popular ideas or who has embraced this wrong way of thinking. And they can almost tag team you, gang up on you, and really just manipulate you into embracing these ideals. But when you feel that nudge, when you feel that hunch as a man, stand on what you believe in. Stand on your word. Stand on your integrity, because typically you are right in this way of thinking, especially if you consider yourself a man. Because a man, one thing that he's going to always do, he's going to always be reanalyzing things. He's always going to be bettering himself, growing in the game, so to speak. He's also going to be analyzing his ways to see if he's truly correct. He's in his quiet time, in his quiet chambers, he's going to be running this through his mind. And I would advise you to even run this past the Lord, because this is who's really going to tell you, what's right and what's wrong. Or also in a multitude of counsel, wise counsel that is, there's going to be safety there. So if there is a time to where, let's take, for example, if your woman wants to go on a trip with some various women. Now, typically there's nothing wrong with this, but if you know that these women are not women, if you know that they're, rude or rambunctious, if you know that they're kind of loose, so to speak, if you know that these women have a knack for disrespecting their husbands or boyfriends, whatever may have you, they have no problem whatsoever doing whatever they want to do. They don't believe in any type of structure, obedience, God, anything to that effect. Then, obviously, if you come from a scriptural background, you know that evil communication corrupts good manners. So you're only justified in wanting to keep this woman, or keep her from these type of young ladies or individuals, so to speak, because you know that one weekend, one vacation in the midst of counsel like this, yeah, you could come back with some issues on your hands. Everything that you work to build up, everything that you and this woman have is sacred, could be tore down just like that by having individuals in the ear. It can definitely corrupt those good manners. Now, if she wants to go out with these women, oftentimes they're going to be able to tell you that, well, what do you mean by that? Like, you're trying to control me? No, I can do what I want to do. I don't know. Who are you to say you don't know these women like that? You don't know what's going on. I'm just going on a trip. Gosh, you're so insecure. They can play all these type of little games with you, and if you're not seasoned, if you don't really have this game, guess what you'll do? You'll go back and say, well, dang, she does have a point. I do need to trust her more. Dang, I do need to go ahead and allow her to go ahead and do what she wants to do as an individual. She does have the right to do this. And then lo and behold, you'll come back, and 2-3 months later, she'll tell you that, dang, she made a mistake. I didn't mean to, but I cheated on you while I was out of town, or something to this effect. Or you'll come back, and now all of a sudden it's beefing going on in your home. You don't allow an evil spirit to come all up in here, and you just don't know where this came from. But if you would have stood on your ground, if you would have stood on your 10 toes and checked this behavior, if you would have had the intelligence to actually justify and peep this for what it is, and be able to verbalize it to this woman, because oftentimes that's where the men are coming up short. You're unable to, when you're under attack, or verbal attack that is, or if individuals are ganging up on you, or if she's assaulting you verbally, if she can speak better than you, then oftentimes it's very easy for her to sway your way of thinking. It's very easy for her to hand you this cup of piss and tell you to drink it and call it lemonade. So this is why you need to be constantly reading, constantly studying, constantly building yourself to where when you come into these encounters, when you come into these experiences, you're able to withstand that. You're able to go ahead and combat that. And again, once you know that you are correct in something, especially from a biblical standpoint, I come here to tell you on today to stand on that. And regardless of who it is, never ever let anyone hand you piss and call it lemonade. But definitely, as always, jump in the comment section today. You might think that I'm tripping. You might think, well, Justin, it is what it is, man. Times is changing. It's not really like that anymore. So if that's what you believe, man, like always, I come here to just stir up debate. So if you disagree with me, definitely jump in the comment section and let me know what's going on. But until the next time, definitely be blessed.